Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Everyday's Friday, the show where we dive into the stories and experiences from people from all walks of life. Today, we have Johnny with us. He is an elite dating coach. He's even wrote the book, Elite Seduction. It is available on Amazon. We're going to be diving into dating, confidence, and success. Also, how to level up in life. Johnny, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, man. It was a nice surprise to see a little invitation in my inbox. I'm glad I'm here.
No, it's my pleasure. Now, for the listeners who may not be familiar with your line of work yet, could you give us a quick rundown of who you are and what you do and why you do it?
Well, why I do it is because I get great satisfaction and joy out of helping people get over the hurdles they experience in their dating life. How I come to do it, be honest, it was a need for myself to begin with. I think every guy can relate not being too satisfied with the sort of results that they're getting. And I went on a path to, have a better outcome. And I went on to teach my friends. They started getting better results. And then I made a career out of it. Obviously, there's a lot more to the story. It's been a long time. But that's in essence as why I do it and what I do.
Was there like a moment that inspired you to become a dating coach?
Yes, I guess I was inspired by every time I didn't take action. There can only be so many times that you walk past someone, have a moment, whether it be that eye contact, that exchange, and do nothing about it. Do absolutely nothing about it, And I got to a stage of feeling so much of that I started to feel emasculated. I thought there's a component here that's missing, right? There's something going on here out and about, but I don't know how to make it happen. And so I was inspired every time that happened. And it got to a point where I decided to actually go on a path and learn how to actually do it.
Okay. How important is confidence in dating and how can people build it?
Well, what we know about women is they're drawn towards confident men, right? It makes them feel secure. Like, this is known biologically. In actual fact, like, women, they test us. If a woman's testing you, it's because they're interested and they're trying to weed out the weak men and identify the strong men. And how we get to become that guy is through repetition. Right? We know that, right? If you want to develop confidence, you need to repeat the process of the thing you want to get confident at. So the subject at hand is getting more confident at women. So we need more data. We need to approach more women. We need to interact with more women. We need to have more experiences. And the more data you have, then you can look at things objectively. I mean, look, I speak to guys and sometimes I sit down and go, listen, how many interactions have you had last year with women? Like, how many approaches did you do? And I recall I speak to this one guy that come to my workshop the other week, and he goes, 4 women last year. I go, wow, you spoke to 4 women last year, right? Well, let's just say like 2 of those experiences went not so great, right? And realistically, they're probably not if you've got little experience. That's just not enough data to look at that and go and look at things objectively. You need to get the first 150 interactions under your belt with women to start looking at something and go, oh, okay, yeah, I can see patterns here. I can see where I need to improve. But if you can count on one hand how many interactions you've had in the last few months or year, you need to pump those numbers.
No, that's so true. Now, what are some like the ways to improve it? I know it's like a lot of people are scared. I mean, it's not about getting the number at first. For some guys, it seems like they just got to interact with them.
Well, I think lifestyle choice is a big one. Well, it's so easy, isn't it? To so like, oh, I never really meet anyone. There's never any women around. Well, what are you actually doing with your time? And it might be that we've come into a bit of a hiatus, come out of a long-term relationship. And because you're in a relationship, you lost touch with certain elements of your own things that you'd enjoyed, like your hobbies, your interests, your friends. So it's time to get back in touch with all those things. And by getting back in touch with those things puts you in more of a social landscape, which allows you then to start talking to people again. So we got to get off our butt and we got to get back out there, right? And maybe it's make new friends. Maybe it's, I speak a lot about this. I mean, when people, they find themselves to be lonely, the hack for that is finding community, because community is like church, right? It brings people together.
No, that's very, very good insight. Now, where are some of the best places for men and women to meet their potential partner?
Okay. Well, I mean, every day we have the opportunity. Yeah, like as soon as we leave the house, we have the ability to meet someone new. Like we know that to be true. But what are you doing with your time when you leave the house? Are you just going straight to work with your head down and your head buried in your phone? Like that commute to work could simply be the opportunity to meet someone. So instead of your head just buried down in your phone, just have it up, raised, and see if you can just start a bit of casual flirting with your eyes. In most scenarios, the interaction has started before you've opened your mouth, right? Because you're having that non-verbal communication with people. So that is something that we can do to maybe provoke an interaction on a day-to-day basis. Where are you spending your lunchtime? Okay, well, if you've got a corporate job or an office job or whatever, and you're just spending it at the canteen, well, you're only subjecting yourself to people that work in that environment. But if, however, you've got the ability to step out of the office or the complex and go down the road and go to this cutesy little patisserie or coffee shop where you know there to be women that also go there for their lunch break, then that would be a good move. If you're someone that is work from home, well, let's face it, work from home is work from anywhere. Work from anywhere could be a hotel lobby, it could be that coffee shop, it could be a co-working space. So these are just simple lifestyle choices that could apply to all of us that we can make to position ourselves and increase the opportunity coming our way.
So after you increase your opportunities to meet beautiful women or just women in general, now what are the best ways to start a conversation with someone you are interested in?
Yeah, well, the first thing is like the environment gives us clues all the time. Okay, so we've got to train ourselves to be more observational. Now it might be that let's create the scenario. You've popped out of the office on your lunch break and you've gone to the coffee shop down the road, and there's a lady in front of you. You find her to be attractive and she's ordered her drink. Well, what's the context here? The context is she's waiting for her drink. So what would it seem natural to say? What did you go for? Right? That she's just ordered her drink. So you're exercising that curiosity. What did you go for? It might be that you can make an assumption on something she's wearing, like her work attire or her leisure gear, her yoga pants. Oh, how long have you been doing yoga for? So you're trying to be more observational of what you can see and using that. And you're not going to be coming across as a creep because it just kind of makes sense, right? You've got context. So I think that's a good way to start. And if you can't come up with anything, right? If you can't see anything, what you mustn't do is let the opportunity pass. Just go direct. And what I mean by that is lead with the intent. Hey, life, I'm not normally one of these strange guys that runs around and approaches women he doesn't know, but today I'm going to make the exception. It's Johnny, by the way. Just something like that would be great. And I think what stops men from doing that is all of the nonsense that's in the mainstream media, like women don't want to be approached, it's harassment. That is absolute nonsense, okay? All women want to be approached. They just want it to be done right. And I've spoken to my female friends, and they're incredibly frustrated with these voices, these female voices in the media that are saying such things, because there are women out there that are dying to have a romantic moment just like that.
Well, why do so many people struggle with dating in the world today?
If we look at what's happened in the last decade, okay, we've had Me Too, right? We had the Me Too campaign. We've had the normalization of dating apps. And we've had a pandemic, okay? Now, I remember the days like when if you were online, if you were caught being online, like doing the online thing, you were like a weirdo. You were like a creep. Like, you wouldn't be telling your friends that you use an online dating. It just wasn't the thing. And that wasn't too long ago, you know. Now we're at a place where that is one of the main paths for people to meet people. And traditionally, you met people going out, right? You met people going out, you trial and error, earning your stripes, going out there, interacting. And because we've got access to this technology straight away, I feel that people are repeating the same cycles of frustration and not knowing how to build rapport and chemistry with people because they haven't actually done it properly in the real world. And that comes to the surface should you actually do meet someone from an app, that you don't have the skills or you're having a not so great experience. I can go into other reasons why I don't think apps are great anyway. Like, part of the reason why a lot of people go on there is because it's a very introverted space for a lot of people. And another reason is it's full of people that have an emotional avoidant personality type, right? So what happens is you might hit it off with someone, there might be a bit of back and forth, but that person has no intention of meeting you. It was just that hit that they needed, right? This stuff is happening a lot. The Me Too campaign, it was a great awareness campaign, but we went too far with the sensationalizing of it all in terms of how much it was in the media. Men became very confused. Men became incredibly confused. They were too scared to approach. They thought that, there were certain voices in the media were saying, well, if you approach a woman, it's harassment. I mean, even the guys that had confidence were sort of pulling their punches a bit now. They were slowing things down. They weren't doing as much. So that had an effect. And the pandemic, Jesus, I mean, that got a lot of people that were confident rusty as well. I had a big boom coming out of pandemic with the services I was offering. So that's where we're at. And, this traditional stuff of feeling rejected, being too scared of the looking rejection in the face.
Now, what is one of the most common questions you get when you're coaching someone on dating?
Well, it's how do I approach without facing rejection? It is one of them. There's it's probably the biggest fear, but it's quite easy to overcome, and you have to understand you don't get anywhere in life without not experience being rejected. Okay? Because what does that say about you and how limited your life is? You've got to put yourself out there. And every time that you interact with someone, you're getting feedback. You're learning. Rejection is a good thing. It's showing you what you're not, and it gives you something to go away and work on.
No, that is some key points right there. Now, what is one of the best ways for men to approach women without being awkward?
Well, I think I said it earlier. I think, finding context in the situation, I mean, I don't think there's anything weird or awkward about, if you just go back to being authentic, right, and honest. Like, a woman's biggest fear is feeling unsafe, especially in the world we're living in today. She wants to feel safe straight away. So if you don't get to the point as to why you are there, you are making her feel uncertain about you. Okay? So go direct. Let her know why you're there. I'm here because I just saw you over there and I had to at least come over and say hello. It's Johnny, by the way. It doesn't have to be any fancy language. It really doesn't. But when you say it, you've got to come from a place of certainty. If you're coming from a place of doubt, right, then they're going to feel doubtful about the interaction. They're going to feel unsafe. because you're going to start to come across as unpredictable. So how do you do that? Well, you fill your head with more positive self-talk, right? You start telling yourself things like, you look at a girl and you go, well, she's mine, or okay, I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to see what I can get away with, or it's on. That will give you a mindset that will promote confidence. And that's the version of yourself that she needs to experience.
Now, do men and women really want different things in a relationship, or are they more similar than we think?
It's a good question. I mean, it depends. I think it also depends what phases that you're going through in your life. You know, I think all guys need to get a certain something out of their system, right? And with that comes confidence as well, right? And I'll tell you this, that as someone that's definitely lived that life, you get to a place where you're like, okay, well, look, what I'm looking for in my life now is something with a bit more depth, right? So you've got to be in a place in your life where you're ready for something more deep and meaningful. Okay, you're giving a woman an absolute disservice if you haven't become the best version of yourself, but you're expecting the best version of them. Okay, most guys are in really bad relationships because it's a mirror as to where they are. Right? It's really true. Like, you attract where you're at. Okay, so I think men and women are both looking for long-term companionship, right? In most cases, building a family, right? But we've got to at least remove one toxic thing from ourselves every year to get ourselves to that place to be the best version for each other.
I like that a lot. Now, how can someone tell if like the person they're dating is truly the right one
I love that
for
question.
them?
Yeah, that's a great question. And this is something I do with my clients quite like straight off the bat. You've got to understand what you want from someone. Okay, so I'm talking about, yes, the superficial stuff, of course. We're men, right? We're drawn to that kind of stuff. It's important. But that aside, well, what about what's inside the container? Yeah, like what the character, the personality. How do I want to feel around about this person emotionally? Right? What are my deal breakers? A lot of us haven't thought about that. I've actually sat down and thought, what are those things? And for me, honestly, I didn't do that for quite a long time. But when I did, I noticed more of that thing in my presence. And we know this to be true as well, right? I think we've all had that experience where you fantasized about the car that you want to own, and you're thinking about that car. You may even be going to the forecourt and to visit that dream car. And then you get back in your banger that you're currently driving, and you see an increase of the amount of that car on the road. Well, it's not just a coincidence. It's not suddenly 20 more of those cars on the road because you decide that you like that car. What's happened is there's been an increase of your awareness of the thing that you like. So when we stop and think about what we're actually looking for in the other, not, oh, she's got to be blonde, or she's got to be brunette, I like big boobs, like, we're a bit more detailed, you're going to start seeing it. And the chances are, it might have already been there. We just not put the coordinates into the GPS properly.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in your emotions.
Totally. And you know what? It's not about you. I think that's the whole thing. Like, just circling back around to that rejection talk, like, oh, I don't want to do it because what if she rejects? It's not about you, dude. It's about going over there and lifting her up, making that person feel better than you found them. Like, imagine, okay, so what? Like, maybe she's got a boyfriend, but or it didn't work out. But at least you went over there and did it. At least she's got something to go back to the office and tell her colleagues about and her friends. Oh my God, I just like, what's the biggest compliment? A guy just came over to me and told me how great I looked. Like, that's where your head needs to be at, like creating the movie moments. And if you really think about that, that should really motivate you, because it's going to be the story that, say that you do end up meeting a girl in some environment like that, in a coffee shop or a restaurant or whatever. It's the story that they keep on telling their friends. When they're asked, how did you guys meet? It's the story they're going to keep on telling. You tell me what sounds better. How did you guys meet? Oh, I'm on Tinder. Oh, it was my boss. Oh, you shagged your boss. Okay. Or, you had this beautiful rom-com moment in the street.
No, I love how you put that. Like it's like you're putting your situations like it's like a movie.
Absolutely. That's main character energy, man. You gotta have that main character energy.
Now, what are some like red flags in dating that people often ignore?
Red flags. Everyone loves the red flag topic, don't they? Look, my best relationships have been with the absence of toxicity, right? Stuff that we know that fuels arguments, alcohol, not respecting the other. I think red flags are subjective, right? But I think my longest relationships have been when there hasn't been alcohol involved too much. Okay, so if someone's like abusing substances, like, of course that's a red flag. If someone isn't, I don't know, maybe have a look at I always ask, what's your relationship like with your mother? Because I really think like behaviors are inherited. Okay, so I always want to know what the mother and father situation is like, and what that relationship kind of looked like. For me, I like emotional availability. Okay, so I want to see that. But if I'm not seeing that, and I'm seeing someone being avoidant, then that's a red flag for me, because I know it's not compatible.
I resonate when you said that about looking at, like, you asking them, what's your relationship with your father like, or your mother? Now, can you dive a little bit deeper into that? Why would you ask that question?
I feel that parents are important, right? And if someone's, like I said, behaviorals are normally inherited. So if someone has been, if there's an alcoholic in the family, it's likely that that's going to be passed on down to the children, right? It can go that way, or it can go the extreme opposite. That's what we know. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger, for example, we look at, how much he's into like his fitness and how high achieving he is, and one of his sons bang on the fitness, like incredible. And the other guy is just like, he's gone the other way. Right. So that's an important thing to look at. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Can you ask me the question?
Do you look for like structure in the family? Like if the family's like together, if they're not divorced, is that what you're looking for?
I think that's important. Because, we have to acknowledge what's happened in the family structure, and it runs so deep. It runs so deep, even with like your relationship with money and finance. They can just continue the same sort of the thought and the ideology about money that is the root of all evil, or whatever it is, or they could go the other way and go, you know what, my family's been broke my whole life. I'm going to be the one that breaks out of that and secures the next generation. That can go the other way. So, yeah, and the divorce thing, like, did the mother cheat on the father? Did the father cheat on the mother? Like, what sort of character is the mother? How much has the mother been of an influence on her daughter? I remember dating this girl, and she mentioned that her mother was used to hang around with a celebrity, right? Like, it's very well-known celebrity. And then I looked at the pattern of the girl I was dating, the history of the men that she's had in her life. I thought, wow, that's interesting. They're all of the same caliber. Like, they're all of the same sort of they're all the same archetype. And she was basically like a star fucker, is what she was, right? And there's like sort of player sort of archetype. And one could only think that she's doing that unconsciously to appease what her mum had done, which was an interesting observation.
Now, do women often look at like their father as like someone like they want to date someone like their father? Do they often look for something like that to like?
Yes, and it's very unconscious. It's very unconscious, and it can also be as well. Say that their relationship with their father it might have been, say the father was a bit of a workaholic, and he was away from the family home. That will then trickle down into her behavior and her choice of men. Okay, so what that means is that she will be emotionally distant, right? Because she's been let down of the feeling of love from the people that were supposed to give her love. So when it comes to embracing new love in her life, in her relationships, she becomes emotionally distant because of the reference that she has from her parents, right? The same can be true if you've had an abusive, you've seen might have had an abusive father or abusive mother. That can trickle down into their relationships moving forward as well, right? You might be in a pattern of being in abusive relationships, and it's because it's so deep that there's some nuanced behavior that you can see from the other that you find familiar from what you've seen in the parentals, and you're just kept in this repeated cycle of being in abusive relationships. I mean, let's be honest. Like, if you've been in 1, 2, 3 abusive relationships, it's not like it's a you problem, right? It's a you problem. Like, this is not like a coincidence. Like, you are recognizing some things that you've seen before, and you're going for it, and you have a lack of the ability to put boundaries in place.
That's a great takeaway. Now, on your Instagram page, you're talking about breakups. Now, why do breakups often lead to big personal transformations in yourself?
I think breakups, what's the word I'm looking for? I think breakups release stagnant energy, right? And I speak about this a lot, about being this wild being out there in the jungle. It's like a wild cat, like a leopard or something. And when you get into a relationship, you get tamed. You get tamed, and slowly you get softer and softer and softer until you become this bloody tubby house domesticated cat. I was on a podcast the other day. We laughed about it. It's like the tiger into Garfield, right? You're the tiger and you get converted into Garfield. And with that, you start to forget who you are and what made you attractive. And you start to lose your way a bit. You get a bit too comfortable. So a breakup, if we look at when people make radical change can only really happen when a significant event in their life happens. So it might be, it might be the breakup of a relationship, it might be the passing of someone, it might be an illness that you've overcome, it might be that you got released from the position at work, whatever. A great change can only happen once a severe event occurs. So just look at what's happened. Every time you've gone through a breakup, it hasn't got worse, has it? It's got better. You've gone to the gym. You've got yourself a fitness program. You've sorted out your diet. You're taking stock of where you are and thinking, what have I got to let go of? What have I got to let go of to become that better version of myself? That's what happens. So I think the fear of a breakup, of a separation, is really the fear of the unknown, of what's next. But if we think about it, every time we ventured into the unknown, the real unsettling thing is just the anxiety up until the point. It's like moving house. Everyone talks about moving house as like one of the biggest stressful things you're going to happen in your life. You know what? Like, I was waiting for that day. I was waiting for that day to happen when I moved house. The only stressful thing about moving house was thinking about it. Because on the day, you're ready. You're packing, you're putting shit in your boxes, and you're getting it done. There's no anxiety in the doing, is there?
No, it's really inspiring how like heartbreak can push people to grow.
Yeah, I think you've got to be a bit poetic about it, and things can start really beautifully, and things can end really beautifully as well. Right? I think that's the way to look at it, rather than to hold on to this dying thing in your hands. Like, let it die, because it's moving things out the way for you to become this bigger and better person. And that's such a great feeling. It really is. It's to evolve. I mean, yeah, don't be worried about it, man. It's easy to say, but it's always heartbreaking going through something like that. But it's just remind yourself, you can only be excited for what's next.
Now, what role does self-improvement play in dating successfully?
You've always got to be improving. Because if you're not improving, as I say, you're staying stagnant. What we know women to be attracted to is status and value, right? And if she can't see that in you, then yeah, she's going to leave because it puts pressure on everything. She wants to feel safe. She wants to feel secure. And if you're not leveling up, you're not leading, right? You're not improving, then yeah, you're messing with her insecurity.
It often makes a better relationship.
100%. I think, especially if you can foster that between each other, it's
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a danger in this day and age to always be like, especially with so much self-development content around, like to people to deliberately try to find problems in their relationship, try to Jordan Peterson their relationship. It's just like, chill out, man. Like, if things are going great, things are going great. Don't need to like look to go too crazy with this. And I think a lot of people are scared of confrontation, right? They don't like to pull their partners on said behaviors that irritate them or maybe close to crossing the line, right? Well, the consequence of not doing that is that person carries on doing that, and consequently, they lose attraction. Yeah. And if they lose attraction, they lose respect. There's only one way that relationship's heading. It's so important to pull each other on when we're not meeting each other's values. when the values are starting to slip out of alignment. Because we learn. You know, an argument doesn't have to be an argument, you know. It can just be a conversation. We're not trying to beat each other in the conversation. We're trying to find resolve and resolution.
That's really good insight. Now, do you believe that women are the ultimate value of wealth?
Do I believe? Say it again, sorry?
So, do you believe that women are the ultimate value of wealth?
That women are the ultimate value of wealth. What do you mean by that?
I just see all these billionaires just walking around with all the most gorgeous women in the world. And
oh,
it's
you
like,
mean a symbol of wealth? Okay.
Yeah, a symbol of wealth. My bad. But you understand what I mean? Why is that? Why are they so attracted to just the money, not the status? Is it in their nature?
Yes, it is. It's hardwired. I mean, I think I'm always cautious of women, guys that are talking about gold digger. Oh, she was a gold digger. She's just a gold digger. If you look at who's saying that, they ain't got no gold to dig. Why does it concern you? Do you know what I mean? Like she's not a gold digger. She's just playing at that level. She's realized what she can obtain. And why should she listen to the naysayers? If she's got a good heart, if she lifts that man up, then let it be. You know, I'm always alarmed when I hear this. They say, "Oh, she's a gold digger." Is she? Is she? I mean, if the negative connotation comes in, like if she's got no heart and she's literally just there to clean the guy out, right? I don't hear so many of those stories. We hear of divorces and separations going really bad, and it, you know, I mean, that's another conversation that I'm not totally qualified on because I haven't gone through that myself. But you know, we know of that, but I don't know. The gold digger thing, we'd give him a bit of a hard time.
Now, what do men truly want in a relationship?
Peace. They want peace, you know? I mean, of course they want the superficial things, right? But they want peace. They want companionship, right? They want someone. When I'm working with guys, I always speak to them about this subject. And one of the things is something I just said, actually, you know, we talked about confrontation. I call it challenge. You know, a woman that challenges you. That doesn't mean like always being on your back, like, oh, why didn't you do this? You know, it means when you're not on your game, she pulls you for it, right? Because you know, like we men and women, we in relationships, we see what we can get away with, you know. We try to see what we can get away with, and we know when we're not being the best version. You know, we need the other to pull us on that, right? So a challenge is the challenge is a big one. Language can be a bit confusing, but another one is the ability to resolve conflict, right, properly. And I really think that is the measure of a successful relationship, your ability to resolve conflict, right, in a non-violent way.
Now, do men really want marriage, or has it changed in today's world?
Men do want to be married. Yeah, I just got off the phone to a guy that was inquiring about my services earlier on. And one of the things I asked him is, what are your goals? What are your goals for this area of your life? He goes, yeah, I want marriage, I want children. That is what every guy that I work with, that is the goal. You know, that they all want that. And again, I said it earlier on, it all depends what stage of one is at in their life. Because asking that to a young man Well, of course he wants that at some point, but that might not be in his foresight anytime soon. It's just one of the goals later on down the line. But yes, why wouldn't you? You know, if you're enjoying the company of a woman, and you get to have all these wonderful shared experiences, why wouldn't you?
Now, this one's for the men out there that are struggling. Now, what are some great date ideas that aren't just dinner in a movie, you know?
Yeah. Um, well, great date ideas is subjective to what we know about them. Okay. Now, if you know that they're into the arts, right? Well, maybe the ballet, maybe the opera, maybe tickets to opera, um, opera. But we got to reverse engineer it. We got to think, what do I know about this person? You know, did the conversation that we had when we met allude to anything? So I'll give you a great example. I was with this guy on my workshop, and we did some daytime approaching, something that he hadn't really done too much of. And he approached this lady, and one thing I always say is get their first and second name, okay? Because you got to do the background check, right? You got to do the background check. We got to find out what we're getting involved with, right? So he forgot that part. So he got her first name and the number, and I said, "Oh, Jesus, you didn't," because that was the next thing. He was like, "Well, I want to ask her out, but I don't know where to take her." Yeah, I go, "Well, what do we know about her?" I go, "What's her second name?" Because I didn't get it. I go, "Okay, message her now and get her second name." He goes, "How?" I go, "Just say I didn't get your second name, right?" And so he said that, and she goes, "Well, you didn't ask." I go, "Well," he goes, "Well, I guess I am now." So he asks, and her second name revealed that she had Russian heritage. Okay, so I was like, "Okay, cool." And this guy is Swiss. So I was like, "Oh, well, I've got the perfect idea for you, dude. What can we think of that can combine both cultures in one date? Like, what can we do?" Right? And he started thinking, and yes, it did involve like some sort of, it was a foodie sort of experience. But he scored a lot of points by being creative and thoughtful with the places that he went, that he chose. And it was like a celebration, a celebration of each other. That's a date that's going to stand out because he put some thought into it, rather than just going to that bar near your house because it's near to your house and it's not too far from your bed, you know, if you want to take him home, you know.
Now, I've been told that every hour on a date, you should move locations. What do you think about that?
But I mean, that can be a method of, we call that state breaking, don't we? We change the scenario to mix it up and provide a bit more stimulation, and what will happen from the back of that will make the person feel that they spent more time with you, so it builds trust. Sure, it can work. You know, I mean, why not? I mean, let's just say, look, we're going back to like dinner again. Like, maybe have dinner, maybe have a drink at the bar afterwards, and then maybe you want to have a bit of a dance, right? So that could be 2 or 3 different venues, right? And they all provide something for you to. They all provide a different element. You know, if you can get a girl dancing, it's an opportunity to get physical. You can get more intimate. If she's comfortable at that stage, that's great. You broke a physical barrier.
Now, how many barriers are there?
As many as a woman wants to put in front of you. And she's absolutely entitled to, you know? Yeah. That's a good question. But I think I've answered that correctly. You know, it's a woman just wants to feel safe. You know, if she feels safe around you and she's enjoying your company, you know, you'll get it to where it needs to be. You know, you'll have. If it's a no, I think this is what I want to say. Like, if it's a no, it's not a no indefinitely, right? It could well be just a no for now, right? It means that, you know, you just haven't earned it yet. And that's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine. You know, you just see her again, see how it goes.
Now, I've heard this too before. Now, are most first dates decided in the first 5 minutes?
Oh, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. I'm thinking immediately of an experience I had where I took this girl out on a date, and it burst my bubble. You know, I built up this idea of it was in lockdown. It's in the pandemic. It got on well on the app, and then met her in person. And then, you know, like pandemic dates, what were they? They're either a walk in the park or dinner at yours. You know, it was like it was, yeah, you had a hard time flexing in the pandemic, but we went for a walk in the park, and I was like, oh, okay, this wasn't on fire as I thought it would be. You know, it was a bit slow, and I was actually thinking, oh, I'm not really bothered about meeting this person again. So I don't think anything's there. But then I followed up, and we did. We had another date the following week, and it was like saw a different side to the person. I think we were both a bit more relaxed and comfortable, and we're allowed to show each other perhaps sides that we didn't get to on the first date. So I think within that, the lesson is you can forget how nervous the other person might be, right? Or I think we forget that. If you started to date quite a lot, you've developed confidence, right? You've become this confident person in the dating arena. But we forget the other person is maybe going through maybe a little bit of anxiety and nerves. So you have to account for that.
Yeah, first impressions really do matter. And I think communication is key in a relationship.
Absolutely. And there's so many different categories of that, you know? So think of it like this. If you don't communicate your wants, needs, and desires, that person going to communicate them with someone else that is listening or is able to.
Now, what's one of the best ways to stand out in the world of dating?
Well, I think you've got to build your status. Okay, I mean we know that if someone has been to a restaurant and they've left a review, or you've been following an influencer online and you've seen him eat at this restaurant, you might be inspired to go to that restaurant because someone else has already been there and it looks great. So how can we incorporate that same sort of thing of our dating life? You got to get more popular. You got to get more known. You've got to look beyond dating and find community. Be the host. Become a host, right? Get more female or male friends. And in doing so, it'll elevate your social status. It's a lot harder to get people through the door without social proof. So you need to work on your social proof. We know the importance of that in business, you know? So we need to implement the same elements in our dating life.
Now, what do most people get wrong about dating?
It's a good question. What do most people get wrong about dating? So much. I mean, we can all look better, right? We can all, and the great thing about the image work, it's become more affordable. And to your point, we only have one chance to make a first impression. You can get good by working on your charisma and your charm. If you really work on that, you will pull people in, but it's going to be a bit more work if someone has got the looks, right? Because when you've got the looks, you're getting the inbound inquiries, right? That incoming traffic. But don't get it twisted. Like, a boring guy with a six-pack is still a boring guy with a six-pack, okay? So just because someone looks good, it doesn't mean they're getting the results they want, right? Believe me, I've worked with a lot of good-looking, attractive people, and you never know what the hell the story that they're carrying around in their head is. You don't know what they've been through. You really don't. They just might not have the chat. They might not have the chat or the ability to take it to A to B to C. So what I'm trying to say is you can't rely on looks alone. But the good news is we can improve our looks in a much more affordable way these days. I mean, in this day and age, no one should be having bad teeth. I mean, maybe that's just, the Americans, they're pretty good at it, right? But like, that just seems that they've always got great teeth. But the English, for sure, I mean, we had Tony Blair as a prime minister once. I mean, if you ever see that guy's teeth, there should be no excuse for having bad teeth in this day and age. It's so much more affordable. Just get it done. Like, just trust me, just get it done. Invest in it. Your best investment is always going to be yourself. Hairline, get that sorted, get it handled. I mean, I was losing my hair at 24. You don't have to, if you just Google my name, like Johnny Cassell, GB News, like, you could see, like, I am losing my hair on there. So these are two investments that I did for myself, and I instantly noticed the inbound coming in, and I recommend all my clients to do that. Okay, it's going to make you feel more confident. You're gonna recognize it. You're gonna see it, man. You're gonna see it, and because you've been working on this stuff, you'll know what to do when you get the attention. And styling, right? It doesn't have to be expensive. You don't have to be wearing designer tags. You really don't. I mean, what you need to know and educate yourself on is what shape of garments suit your body, right? What colors work with your color palette, right? And get that handled. Just go out there and get that handled. You will notice the difference. Your physique is part of your style, right? Study it. What is the optimal weight that I need to carry for a man as a man of my height, right? Just put that in. And the AI, ChatGPT, just message it and have it come up with a diet plan, a workout plan. You'll see a body transformation in 8 weeks if you're down the gym 3 to 4 times a week.
Now, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give your younger self about love and relationships?
I just did a video on this. I wrote a lot about it. One of those things would be to not worry about other people. I mentioned that, not to worry about what other people think. Because of that is what stopped me from getting started on approaching people in the daytime. Okay? Like we've discussed here today on opportunities that present ourselves in the daytime. Now, why I didn't do that, I mean, it's taboo. For me, it was taboo. Like, traditionally, where do you meet people? You go out and meet people in bars, clubs. Like, that was the said thing. That was the way to do it. But, wow, approaching someone in the daytime? Are you crazy? But why? Why was that crazy? It was crazy because someone might see. Someone might see you approach. I would tell you, when I first did that, when I first approached someone in the daytime, that person I approached became my girlfriend for 2 years. And it blew my mind. I was like, holy cow. I didn't realize that was possible. How many opportunities have I missed? So that would be a one big bit of advice I'd give myself is just get started at approaching people in the daytime that you don't know. Like, just start. Yeah. Another thing that I would say is, I mean, I did a bit of this when I was young. I always looked to position myself as a host. And when you position yourself as a host, obviously you bring people from different social tribes together. That's a great hack to elevate your status, by the way. But I would look to do more of it and get my style sorted out ASAP. It was a bit all over the place, to be honest. It was a bit all over the place. I can never work out, as a young guy, the guys that already had that handled. Like, how do you know how to dress so good, so quickly? Like, what? Like, they've never been through the pain of not looking good. Like, so I think there's a couple of elements that I would tell myself.
Now, if someone you're dating is staying in touch with their ex, what should you do?
Well, I've made the mistake of being too lenient on it in the past. Okay? And it really came back to bite me in the backside. And I had this relationship with this girl, and she goes, "Oh, I'm always going to be in touch with my ex." And my initial reaction was, "No, I'm not comfortable with that. Don't see a need for you to be in contact with your ex," right? Which I believe to be the right response. I mean, why? Why is there a need for you to be in contact with your ex? It's just going to create problems. And what happened is I'd done a 360. I came back round. We started seeing each other a few weeks later. And I said, well, I've been thinking about it, and I thought, you know what? Like, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. And in that moment, I felt that I lost respect. I lost respect because I went against my values, right? And consequently lost attraction. So I don't think it's a good thing. I think it can corrupt and pollute the fruits of your relationship, right? You ask yourself, is it necessary? Why is it necessary to stay in touch with your partner, your ex-partner? There was a situation where I kept on hearing a partner of mine, she used to just kept on mentioning her ex. Like, it was a frequent thing. I was like, what's going on? Like, why do you keep hearing this? And I stopped her when I go, I just got to ask you something. What's going on? I mean, you've mentioned your ex quite a few times lately. And she didn't realize. She was, I don't know. I guess, I don't know. He's been like commenting on my Instagram a lot, like on my posts and stuff. I go, all right, well, I don't know, maybe you want to like consider just taking him off. I mean, it's kind of interfering with our relationship, like you bringing him up all the time. It doesn't really have a place here. But I think what's important when you do talk about it, it's not to come from a place of jealousy, right? You've got to be calm and you've got to be unshakable. Because if you respond in a jealous way, they'll take note of that.
Hello, everybody. So, a quick heads up for everyone listening. During our conversation, we actually lost connection. It happens, but no worries. We picked things up the next day and ran it back. You'll hear me ask the same question again, but I wanted to make sure that you got the full answer. So, let's jump right back in. If someone you're dating is staying in touch with their ex, what should you do?
Well, first of all, I think it's funny because I've just released a video on something I'm about to say. You've got to see it as it is a potential test, first of all, right? Um, how you respond in that moment's important. Think about it. What would a man with confidence do? How would he respond? He'd have unshakable confidence, right? So a man of unshakable confidence wouldn't step into being jealous or trying to compete, right? Instead, he would maybe perhaps go, "Oh, well, it's interesting. I've heard you speak of your ex a couple of times recently. Anything that anything you want to share? Like, what? Why is that? Like, it's calm, it's cool. It gives us space to speak into it. But ultimately, I don't think that there should be the ex shouldn't really be rearing its head in your relationship. I don't think it has any business in rearing its head in your relationship. I don't see it as a net positive, to be honest. Doesn't matter how much work you guys have done. I've certainly got reference in my own personal dating life where it's become an issue, and perhaps I've been more lenient at it. And again, it just comes back to bite you in the backside.
Yeah, it's a very tough situation.
Yeah, but there's no need for it, man. Like, it's just focus on you guys, right?
Yeah, especially if you're trying to build a future together, you know?
Absolutely. I had a situation where I did notice my former partner of mine mention her ex. Like, it just kept on coming up, kept on coming up. I was like, what's going on here? And I let it pass a few times. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, like I've heard you bring this guy's name up a couple of times. Is there any reasons why? And then she was actually unconscious that she was doing it, right? She goes, "Oh well, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. I guess it's been on my mind. I guess he's been messaging, like, commenting under my posts on Instagram." I was like, "All right, well, I don't know. It's up to you, but I don't have any of my exes on Instagram." And just left it in their court, right, for them to think and do what they want with that. And she went forward and got him off Instagram. There were no problems then. She never brought him up. So it was funny, whether it was like a manipulating angle from him, trying to sort of emotionally be in her mind still, but not actually be with her. People do that. And she was unaware that it was causing problems for us. But yeah, but ultimately, whether they're conscious of it or not, when they're bringing it up, it's a test. It's a test. Then your reaction is key. On how you respond to it is key.
Now, do women often test men in relationships?
Absolutely, absolutely. Women are constantly testing, and we have to understand why they do it. Because look, if you're a woman and you've gone out and you've gone out of the girls and you've been approached 5 or 6 times, like every time they go out, they're getting approached, right? How do they identify which category a guy sits in, right? And what I mean by categories, you've got the insecure, weak guy, or you've got the unfazed, he's unshaken by a challenge, high value guy, right? How does she identify which category you're in? Because let's face it, if you're insecure and weak, it's her right to find that out ASAP because she doesn't want to find that out in a moment of crisis, right? So these are the reasons why women test. They're testing to make sure that you can offer safety and security. So they'll happen on a conscious level, like they'll consciously do things, like they might try to evoke jealousy from you, see how you respond to jealousy. They might pull away, right? See how you respond to pulling away. Or it might be an attitude test. For example, like, I don't know, you might be a bit overconfident, a bit brash, and she might say something like, "Wow, you're a little bit big-headed, don't you think?" And your response might be, "Oh, what do you mean?" Like an insecure response. Or you could look her in the eye and go, "Absolutely. What else do you like about me?" Right? And that's the difference. And that's when you have a witty comeback response like that, it's just like, God, the boss is here. Exciting.
I like the way you put that. Now, what's one of the best pieces of advice for someone struggling with self-doubt?
Well, doubt comes from uncertainty, right? And how we get to a place of certainty is by doing. And there's no getting away from the doing. And a lot of us have probably done a lot of doing, but we fail to recognize what we have done. And what I mean by doing is approaching, having positive interactions, not erections, maybe a positive erection. Positive interactions. God, get that right. Maybe dated a woman that you thought was well out of your league, whatever it is. Write it down. Write it down. That we need to put mechanisms in place to build our self-esteem, because the brain does a terrific job of telling us what we're not and what we haven't done, or why we're inadequate, why we're not enough. Okay, the brain does a great job at doing that. And if we don't have something in place, I mean, guys like to maybe journal their positive outcomes. I'm definitely an advocate of that. Some guys, might make a list of all the women they've slept with. Cool. I mean, I've seen guys have spreadsheets, right? All sorts of funky categories on there. But whatever it is, whatever it takes for you to, whenever you've got that moment of doubt, like, for example, you might go out tonight and think, right, I'm going to smash it tonight. I'm going to speak to some women, whatever. And you just really struggle to get started. And then you come back home and you're like, oh man, I suck at this stuff. I really suck. I'm not getting anywhere with this. But then you look at that little notepad, that diary or that sheet that gives you all your symbols of success, your reminders, and you're able to quieten the noise down in the mind and fill it with what is actually true. And that is the difference between, because once you have the skill, it's then down to mindset, whether you're a winner or a loser. So you've got to get that mindset right.
Yeah, it's like your mind has to be stronger than your feelings.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and what we know about the mind, like it's not always right. Right? It's not always right. That's what we know. So we have to have something in place that we can rely on. And for me, it's always been journaling.
Now, how can someone handle rejection without letting it crush their confidence?
When we look at rejection, we have to look at it as like, it's not about you. Okay? It's not about you. It's about lifting someone else up, adding value, giving them something to go and talk about in the office when they go back, right? It's about understanding what you want, right? A lot of guys, why they struggle with this thing with rejection, they think, well, they don't even know what they want. So what are the qualifying attributes that woman has to have to be a part of your life? No one's even thought about that. If you think about what's your type amongst your friends, you go, well, what's your type? Oh, we got a we got a little kitty in the in the show today. If you ask your friends, what's your type? They might sit there and go, I don't know, blonde, brunette, big boobs. Like, I could take you for a walk like today and find a hot brunette or a blonde. Like, it's just not enough. It's not enough. When you fully know in detail what you want, you'll do a better job of seeking it out and qualifying for it. So it then becomes not you're going over there to hope to be approved. You're going over to see if someone's values, their attributes, are in line with your values, and vice versa. It's a two-way street.
I like the way you put that. Now, do you see it as like some women have like doors that are open, and then some are like have doors that are closed that will not let you through.
What do you mean by that? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
So like I could see like some women like not just interested because she's into another guy. So you come up to her and then she rejects you and it destroys your confidence. But you have to understand the bigger picture that she's talking to another guy that she's interested in. It's not you.
And that's absolutely okay. You know, what's not okay is doing nothing. The biggest risk is not going for it because you just continue being the shitty person that you were yesterday. You know, in actual fact, it's not about getting the girl's number. It's just beating the person you were yesterday. Because it's a much shittier feeling with seeing someone you're attracted to and walking past and not going for it. Like, I know I said, like, that's what inspired me. That's what inspired me, like experiencing enough times of not doing it to one day decide, you know, I'm going to do this. So she's absolutely entitled to say no, you know? And of course, there's always going to be things in the equation that you can't control. She's seeing someone. She didn't take your number down. Great. She's a quality girl.
Now, how has social media changed the way people date today?
Well, if you look at social media in the last decade, I mean, it's normal now, right? I remember when Facebook was like fresh, you know, it was fresh. We didn't really know what we were doing with it, you know? I can't think on one account in the last decade where social media hasn't played a part in the continuation on my romantic pursuits. I just can't. See, social media is a tool. Social media is the real online dating because everybody's on there. You've got access to everybody. You can easily get access to everybody on there. It's amazing. So the people that succeed on social media are the people that are having an active social life offline. You can't fake a social life online. You've actually got to have the social life. Okay. Social media allows us to continue the conversations. For instance, let's just say that girl that, you know, we just talked about now, like maybe she gave you the no, maybe she didn't get the number, but you got her name and you added her on social media. What might have been a no in the moment that you met her might be a yes 18 months from now, because her situation may have changed. Things may have differed. So you can play the long game. Social media will help you play the long game. Social media will help you communicate all of your other interests and hobbies and your whereabouts, your travel stories. You look at the story function, it's like email marketing, right? You can see who's interested in you. You can see who keeps on viewing. You can look at other people's stories. You can see where their plane's landing and meet them up for a coffee in another city. It's amazing. One of the first things I ask people when I'm working with them, are you on Instagram? 90% of them say no. I'm not surprised because they've got a social problem, right? Everyone should be on social media and they should be leveraging it.
Now, how can someone stand out in the world of social media dating?
Well, as I said, like if you want to stand out on social media, you have to get the ball rolling with standing out in the real world. And that means tapping back into your communities or tapping into new communities. If you don't have any passions or any hobbies, fantastic. Let's use the time to go and try a whole load of new things out, right? Let's find something. And what you can also do is become a host, right? If you become a host, you become the conduit in regards to how everyone meets each other. Naturally, your social value will be elevated because you become that person. So naturally, what happens if you start doing that? Well, content is captured, pictures, videos. You'll have stuff to talk about. You know, you've got to look at social media as a way to document your life and what you're doing, and learn to take a good picture. Like, learn to take a good picture, learn to take a good video. Right? Really study what is the composition of a good picture and a good video, and post it. You know, get used to posting candid moments. I mean, I've got some amazing stories where, like, I've gone to an art gallery, and there was this artist called Fabian Perez, and I've been studying his work for 10 years. Like, he's a fantastic oil painter, and I saw it I saw his event advertised at one of the galleries here in London. And I passed the window. I was like, oh, I best take note of that. I definitely want to go. So the day come, I rocked up, went there. Fabian was there, whole host of like VIPs and art enthusiasts. And I got my phone out and I started just running a story, like clicking the video and running a story on Instagram of all of his artwork on the walls. I tagged him in it. I tagged the art gallery in it. And boom, out there into the ether. And then when I got home, I started seeing that like all the people that were viewing my stories and liked it, were interacting with it. And I noticed there was this lady that was just loving like all of the posts I was making. And I went down the wormhole and I looked at her profile and stuff. So, wow, she's an interesting person. She's in the art world as well. And I messaged her. I go, hey, wow, I didn't see you at the show. What did you think? She goes, actually, I wasn't at the show. I wish. I'm actually over in, she was in a different country. And I was like, oh, well, that's unfortunate. And coincidentally, I knew that I was going to that said country in the coming months. But I didn't share that with her just yet. Anyway, that interaction then went onto the phone 2 days later, right? We're speaking on the phone. We're messaging regularly. 2 months later, I'm in her city, in her country, and we're experiencing some romance together. That's how you use social media, right? There's so much power in leveraging it properly. But I can't emphasize enough, you've got to be going to events and parties. You've got to lead an interest in life. And if you don't currently lead an interest in life, that can start today.
No, that's so true. I mean, dating looks a lot different today than it did years ago.
Absolutely. I've said it before, like online dating, you were a weirdo if you were on that. Like, like back in the day, I remember, like, if you were online, you didn't really want to tell your friends you were doing the online thing. You're like, well, what's wrong with you? You're weird. But now, people are just coming into it like it's normal. These apps are they're here. They're here and they're popularized. They're marketed well. And I think there is a consequence to that. I think people may feel that it could be a substitute for actually living a real active social life. But if you do fall for that trap, that's going to come back to bite you in the ass later on, because women want to have a social life, and if you can supply that, as part of the package of being with you, then that's a lot of value.
Now, when you're asking for a girl's phone number, do you ask for her social media page as well?
This is a great question. When you ask for a phone number, always make sure you get the first and second name. Okay? Because once you get the first and second name, you've not only just got their phone number, but you've also got their Instagram. And once you've got their Instagram, then you can fish around for more hooks, more talking points, more commonalities, which in turn will strengthen your suggestion for what sort of date to go on, because you know a bit more about her. But if you've just subject yourself to getting her number, then you're losing out on all of the marketing opportunity as well. Because remember what we just spoke about with social media, it's a marketing tool. She can also find out stuff about you. She can see where, if you're posting candid moments using the story function, all that, she can see all that. The seduction can keep on going.
Now, do you think the dating apps like Bumble, Tinder, and Hinge are good ways to find real connection?
I think with the apps, look, I know how I feel about them, and I know what the majority of people are feeling about them now. And you don't only have to look at the statistics in terms of the usage. They're dropping. They're dropping right now. These conventional swipe left, swipe right function apps, people are fatigued with it. And the reason why is, it's full of people that will never actually bother they never have any desire to meet you, right? And guess what? That's not new. I mean, when we talk about the early stages of internet dating, like, everyone had a conversation with a weirdo on there. You know, everyone had a conversation with a weirdo that they never met, you know, and very few of had like proper stories of meeting someone. That hasn't changed. You know, the weirdos are still out there. Those people are still there, right? Just happy, just talking and never actually meeting, right? God forbid you end up talking to a catfish. But jokes aside, look, there is immediate reference that I have where I know it's worked for people. But those people do a good job of signaling status, signaling safety and security and all these things, know a bit about marketing, how to present themselves. They've got it all figured out, right? They understand it. But for the majority of us that don't, because remember, the statistics say 20% of people are finding success on dating apps. 20%. So what does that mean for the 80% of us? Right? We can't use it as a substitute. The real winners with online dating moving forward are the ones that are actually encouraging you to meet up, or they're organizing events, right? And you have to go to these events. It's paid, you're a subscription fee, so you've got that commitment, and they're actually organizing group events. That's the play. And I'll do it, you know, I'm quite happily share, like Time Left is one. I've got my eyes on that company. I think they're going to do fantastic. I think they're doing great. I've already got clients that have gone there. Not only have they like met a girlfriend from it, but they've also improved their social life, you know, starting from zero, you know, met a lot of cool friends. And Thursday, you know, I met the guy that runs Thursday at a panel talk, George, some years ago, and it's amazing to see what they're doing. Every Thursday they have a big social event. That's the play. You know why? Because you actually get out there to an event and meet people in real life. Guaranteed.
No, you have great insight. I'm sure a lot of listeners are going to take a lot away from this conversation. Now, Johnny, what is some big goals for you in the future? What's next for you in your career?
Yeah, my goals are just to continue on, man. I mean, I've been doing this for 16 years now, and in those 16 years, we've had a lot of success. You know, a lot of people have gone on to get married, long-term relationships, improved the relationships with the ones that they already had. Like one of my favorite stories is where a guy come back to me and goes, Johnny, like, I've realized what we've been working on has helped me improve my relationship with my son. Like, that's cool. You know, so we've got loads of stuff, loads of stories like that. So I want to continue all the great work we're doing here. I've got a few more books in me for sure. Like, I know I've got a few more books in me. My online community, I want to grow my online community. And hey, I can never turn my nose up at a bit of TV work as well. You know, we've had a few things over the years, but I think the casting directors need to knock on my door a bit more. We could do a bit more.
Now, all your stuff will be in the description down below, but where can people follow you on social media?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm mainly active here, right, on Instagram. So at London Dating Coach, my YouTube channel that really given that a push this year. So just type in Johnny Cassell on YouTube, and you'll find my channel. Subscribe. We're updating that regularly. And you know, if you actually want to step across the line and get a bit more, look at getting some private work or some group coaching, just johnnycassell.com.
Johnny, this has been an incredible conversation. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
You're welcome, man. It's been a blast. I've enjoyed sharing the insights. Thank you for having me.
Now, the listeners, go follow Johnny and go buy his book on Amazon. It's available now, and go check out his coaching services as well. And thank you again for being on the show. I really do appreciate it. And for the listeners, this is Every Day is Friday Podcast 365. Until next time, everybody. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, buddy.